Hi guys, and welcome to ExamDebugCS, where the CS is going to be computer science in this case. So today we're going to be starting a course on basic Python. Now the big difference here is going to be that we are focusing really on the IGCSE, the Cambridge IGCSE, or the GCSE, whichever you prefer. It's pretty much the same stuff. And we're going to be going through the Python that you will need for this course. Later as well, we'll go on to do a bit of A-level and some other languages as well, but for now, this is kind of at the beginner or the IGCSE level, but the focus will be on the kind of things you need for your exams. Okay, so the first thing we have to be able to do is probably going to be to set up our Python, and that's what we're going to be looking at today. So first thing we have to do is download Python. Now, that's easy enough. You can go to python.org and you should get a page that looks something like this. And then you're going to go into downloads. Go into downloads and click on this one here. If you're a Mac, obviously you're over here, but it should give you your default, whatever your OS is here anyway. Click on this and download it and then run that file. And it should just set up. You don't need to change any settings, just install the basic settings as is. Now, just a quick warning before we go any further. There is Python 3 and there is Python 2. There's other numbers that come after it. These are just later versions and they don't really matter that much for us. But there's a big difference between Python 2 and Python 3. So this course is going to be in Python 3. I'd recommend it. It's the new one. It's the most up to date. However, be aware there's a lot of stuff online for Python 2 as well. So don't get confused when you're looking for help or looking through files. Make sure you focus on Python 3. Okay, so install that and then play the video once you've got it. Okay, I will assume it's all installed. Once you have it installed, if you go down to your search or you run it in some way, now, first thing to notice is if I put in Python and click on it, I just get this weird black screen coming up. And it's not really what perhaps people are expecting. So this is Python itself. Now, what this is doing is it's taking our commands and it's going to change them from text into something that the machine can understand, and that's called machine code. Okay, so it's going to take our high-level programming language, Python, and convert it into machine code. And that's what Python does. But that's not where we want to write our stuff. What we want to do is we want to use an editor and then give that edited file, give that text file to Python. So Python comes with its own editor, and that editor is called idle. So instead of typing Python, if you type idle, you should get this white screen coming up. And that's our place to start. For anyone wondering, the name Python and idle, it's not actually to do with snakes. It comes from an old, even before my time, movies called Monty Python. And one of the famous actors was Eric Idle. Okay, now we've got this. Now we're in Python here at this point again. This is it, almost similar to our black screen. So this is not where we type yet. Yep, this is the shell. So what we want to do is we want to be actually opening file, new file. And you'll see you get this blank file here. So this is where things are running. And this is where our actual program goes. So now I can type stuff in here. I can do print hello and run it, and it will print hello. But it's not very useful because we're having to type run. It's okay in some circumstances. We'll talk about that more in the theory. But generally, when we're programming, we want to get a whole file written and send it all at once from here into this compiler and running it over there. So we're just going to start with something very simple. And anyone who's done any programming before will be familiar with the traditional way to start, and that is to make a program called Hello World. So in Python, all we're going to do today, and we'll come back and explain it more in detail later, this is just to get it working, is print, open bracket, I'm going to type hello world, and that goes in quotation marks, and then I'm going to close the bracket. Yep. Now, if like me, your eyesight's not great, what we can do is we can configure idle, and we can make our size even bigger. Now, because I'm doing it for you guys, hopefully, I think that's bigger, right? Hopefully that should be a little bit easier to read, yeah, in theory. Okay, so now if I run it, now there's different ways to run a program. Now when I say run a program, what I mean is take this text, and that's all it is, it's just text. Idle gives us a nice colors, but it's no different from writing in Notepad or anything else. And it's going to take that text, and it's going to give it to the compiler, and the compiler is going to change it to machine code. Now I can do run and run module. Okay, now I need to save it first. So I'm going to save the program as hello world. Save. And then you'll see it runs over here. Now what you might have noticed was that it says F5 next to it. So if you're on a Windows machine, sorry, I can't remember for Macs, but there will be a shortcut. If you're on a Windows machine, what you can do then is instead of going up here and pressing run down there, you can just press F5 on your keyboard, and it will pass it over to the compiler on that side. Okay, so that's if you want to install Python on your machines. Now, what you might find, especially is if you're working in a school, is that the teacher doesn't want you to do it this way. So this way is probably the best for real programming because it's on your machine and you're running it. You don't need to worry about the internet and other such things. But often if you're giving it to teachers, they're going to have an online editor that you can use, but it's just exactly the same thing. So the one that I commonly use is called REPL. So it's REPL.it, or it used to be, now it's replit.com, but it used to be REPL.it, and that will get you there anyway. And then you should get, once you sign up, which you will have to do, but make sure you're doing it with the one that your teacher wants, don't just copy this one. And then once you're in something like this, we can start creating things. So I'm going to create a new Python. I'm going to call it hello world. And what I get is a screen like this. Okay, now these are my files down here, and I can upload files that I need to be added into here. This is my file, so that's the same as what I had here. So I can just copy that. So that's the same as what I had there. Now this black screen is what I had on this side, my shell, okay? That's my output. So now if I go here and I press run, you see this displays over here on the side. Now the big advantage of this is I can share this with my students, or I can share things with my teachers. So if someone wants to check your work, they can easily connect onto here and have a look. The downside is always internet connections. You have to be online and things like this. So you might want to work with this at home, offline, and then copy it into here. It really depends on what you feel comfortable with and what your teacher thinks is best. What I would say though is when you start developing large projects, which might be a long way down the line, you maybe want to start working with it more in a system like this. Okay, so that's all for today. And the next class we'll get into actually having a look at how to actually do our programming. But thank you very much, and look forward to seeing you in the next class. Good luck with your exams.